Namaste everyone. Thank you for joining in this video. So today we'll be looking at Rahu in the third house. And as we all know, this is an ongoing series titled all about the nodes, where I've been discussing about the placements, the house placements of Rahu and Ketu in all the houses from house number 1 till house number 12. Okay. So today we'll be looking at Rahu in the third and what are the implications associated with this placement whenever Rahu goes into the third house. So when Rahu comes to the third house, the axis is known as Vasuki, and Vasuki in Kalasarpa may be imagined to be a twister or a churner capable of twisting or spinning a story. And Vasuki is a gifted communicator and interpreter who may also manipulate explanations and instructions for own purposes. Okay, so you can see how it relates to the third house, because third house is all about communication. Okay, and there is often a focus on career, education through experience, social networking, and traveling as a means of exploring the world. And such a native can be a charismatic and convincing salesperson, but the marketing hype masks an opportunistic business person. Okay, and these people, because the third house indicates hands, so these people may use a lot of hand gestures to make a point, but the message that is offered may be open to misinterpretation. Okay, so such a native may lack support from siblings, prove unlucky in his or her livelihood, or even suffer problems in businesses and losses through partnerships. Okay, so how does Rahu in the third house behave psychologically? Let's have a look at that. Now, according to Parashara, Rahu in an Upachaya house, that is the third, the sixth, the 10th, or the 11th, is promising, especially the third, because it reflects the wants and needs that drive human nature. And Rahu represents desire and obsession, while Ketu, as we know, denotes ambivalence and detachment. And with Rahu in the third and Ketu in the ninth, this indicates a bias for creative expression of radical ideas, sometimes at the cost of traditional moral values, religious principles, or even rules of the law. Now, Rahu is a Vata-provoking planet, okay, and such a native may be very restless. Okay, these people may have fidgety hands or unable to sit still. And because the third house also rules upper limbs, the native may have powerful arms, a strong grip, or upper body strength. And there may be unusual markings on the arms, for example, a birthmark or a tattoo, perhaps the image of a snake. So such a tattoo may bear the message in the form of an aphorism. And because Rahu is obscure, the message may be written in Sanskrit or Chinese, or a character set which is unrecognized by most or by many. Now, Rahu in the third can indicate a hearing deficiency or ear infections. And since Rahu rules technology, partial deafness might be corrected with a hearing aid. Fashion-wise, the native may favor unusual earrings or outrageous ear piercings. And since the third house rules the lungs, a virulent malefic like Rahu suggests bronchial complaints. Ailments and diseases can range from mild to serious, for example, asthma or bronchitis or emphysema, emphysema, if I could pronounce that correctly, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and even lung cancer. Now, pranayama is an appropriate antidote for someone having Rahu in the third. And because Rahu is irregular and spastic, the breath is often ragged or shallow. Okay, pranayama obliges one to slow down the breathing, measure it out, draw deep, and expel fully. And most yoga teachers recommend pranayama for regulating the respiratory system, revitalizing the body and even calming the spirit. Now, the third house also rules movement or locomotion. So as a result of Rahu being in the third house, the native may be restless and inclined to wander. And such a person is prone to frequent short jaunts, unplanned trips, and journeys to foreign places. Now, relocations may be abrupt. For example, such a native may be here one day, the next day gone. Okay, so Rahu is enterprising and innovative. So in the third house, the native makes his own thing happen. Okay, such a native may push people into doing things for his own benefit but given the potential for blowback and reversal, that can sometimes lead to his or her detriment. Now, Rahu being very innovative, so in the third house, it thinks outside the box. But sometimes the native's ideas are so out of the ordinary that work within a traditional business context may be a challenge. And Rahu is always non-traditional. Okay, so as a result, the native can get involved in enterprises that are odd or kooky or experimental. And yet, that's part of the appeal, to boldly go where no one has gone before. Third house also rules desire. So such a native may have peculiar passions, and these did not be sexual, just an existential desire to live something out of the ordinary. But because the third is a kama sthana, sexual desire may also be present and could arouse the person to seek gratification via experiences that may be considered abnormal by others. Okay. The third house also rules siblings and neighbors, and since Rahu is erratic and lawless, this suggests rebellious or wandering siblings who may have substance abuse issues or non-traditional sexual orientation or mental disorders or foreign affiliations. So this could also spell trouble with neighbors who are party animals, drunks, or drug users or dealers. Now, with the Rahu Ketu axis cutting through the third or ninth houses, this can create disturbance in the family, primarily affecting siblings and also the father. For example, a pattern of addiction could implicate either family member. Okay, and why does this happen? Because from the third house, Rahu directly looks at the ninth house of father. Okay. Now, suppose the father is the one who is most affected, so this could cause a family rift. And faced with his adverse addiction, the mother might feel the greatest pressure against all odds to hold a debilitated marriage together. And this strain can even lead to a divorce. Okay. So the father may be dysfunctional, behaving in ways that make a marital relationship different or difficult. And the native may develop ambivalent feelings about the father because Ketu in the ninth can provoke feelings of resignation. And the dissolution of the family can leave the person with a bad impression of relationships, especially in how the father's role is viewed. Okay. Now, with Rahu in the third, problems can also arise regarding disposition of property or vehicles. For example, siblings may challenge the division of family property. Misunderstood verbal agreements result in unfulfilled expectations. There could be discrepancies in offers to purchase, deeds of sale, land transfer documents, or even wills distributing property via inheritance. Okay, the native may need a lawyer to examine entire documents and clarify the situation. The third house rules communication, as I've said previously, and Rahu in the third has a great passion for communication, for conversation, for interpretation, narratives, and signal of any kind. And the vehicles for this to fulfill this passion are diagrams, descriptions, hand gestures, photographs, verbal and written reports, and even the ears as primary receptors, as well as the messengers who deliver the news. And because Rahu is foreign and irregular, such reports may be garbled, okay, laden with subliminal meaning or lost in translation or simply false. Now, Rahu's ambition may be to influence or gain favor with siblings, neighbors, team members, and other co-equals. And the influence may be offered within the context of business transactions, instructions, marketing, multiculturalism, propaganda, publishing, social media, and so on. And since the native wants to be recognized as an authority, these people spare no effort in their craft, fully utilizing technology to deliver a message in the form or content. Okay. And if in effect, these people seek immortality through his medium, the native may hope to be a writer, for example, a biographer or a copywriter or a documentarist or a journalist or a lyricist or a novelist, public relations spokesperson, script writer, speech writer, technical writer, or so on. Okay. Now, because the third house is a kama sthana, okay, so the communications of a native may have a relational bias, for example, promoting sexual contact. The native may be a flirt using gestures as well as words, obviously having a notorious double meaning to convey a message that might be interpreted on more than one level. So what this does is it indicates a flair for erotica in the form of drawings or photography or painting or even writing. Okay, and because Rahu is an iconoclast, the native's communication skills may be applied to breaking taboos. Okay, he or she might provoke discussions of forbidden topics, for example, homosexuality, racism, sexual abuse, women rights, etc. Okay. Now, Rahu also signifies foreigners and outcasts, and the native may document or report on the condition of immigrants, the homeless, the LGBTQ community, the mentally ill, and also those suffering from AIDS and other diseases. Now, there could be evangelical aspects to the communications of such a native, which can be viewed as a propaganda by some, but for others, it will be a necessary prelude to truth and reconciliation. For example, we have all heard about the revelations of whistleblowers like Edward Snowden and Julian Assange that reflect a desire to overthrow the status quo through leaked communications. Now, Rahu always challenges conventional culture. So as a result, the native may express strange ideas, sometimes obliquely, as in satire, where situations may be blown out of proportion to make a point. Okay, and because Rahu represents the foreign, the native's language may not be decipherable by a layperson. Okay, such a native may have a facility for shorthand, writing computer code, translation of foreign languages, or even cryptography. Okay, the concept of mixed message is typical of displacement because the forked tongue is associated with Rahu, who is the head of the serpent. And this head is now at work in the house of communications. Okay, so fabricators, liars, and tail spinners represent such activity. Okay, now Rahu also symbolizes snake oil, suggesting the native has a capacity for false advertising, communications, or marketing, especially in industries such as tobacco, alcohol, pharmaceuticals, oil and gas, and even medicine. Okay, now the native may be a charismatic and convincing salesperson, but the marketing hype masks an opportunistic business person, and he may use hand gestures to make a point, but the message he offers may be open to misinterpretation. Okay, so these people can have difficulty with education, and as a result of education deficit, it might result in other problems with career and social status. And these people, they tend to be loners, very unpopular with an anemic social circle. And in both education and social activity, these people have to make special efforts to succeed. And because the third house is the house of kala or skills, the person may demonstrate a remarkable dexterity. Okay. So obviously musicianship is one possible avenue, and because Rahu is foreign, the native may be attracted to unusual instruments, for example, bagpipe or bouzouki or harmonium or marimba or sitar or veena, etc. Okay. Such a native may also use his or her hands in some trained capacity, for example, to entertain or to heal. So we can get the athlete or chiropractor or juggler or the musician using the sleight of hand or even massage therapist. And because the third and the ninth both relate to travel, the nodal axis through these houses could bring benefits to tourism, which can be mundane or spiritual. And spiritual tourism can be in the form of a pilgrimage. Okay, and the influence of benefics versus malefics on the nodes would create a bias for positive or negative experience. Okay, so this is all about Rahu in the third house. Do let me know if it resonates with you. And as always, if you want a discussion or a conversation regarding your chart, please reach out at the number given in the description box. Okay, so that's it from me in this video. Please subscribe to the channel, share the content with your friends and family if you find it useful, and do let me know in the comment section regarding your feedback for this video and others as well. Okay, so that's it from me. I'll see you soon in yet another video. Namaste. Om Gurave Namaha.